All right, this is really cool. We are going to talk about all things hypnosis today. We're going to talk about subconscious patterns, why we do what we do, why we accept certain limitations in our life, how to make decisions, and probably so much more. So, most of you guys know me. I am Glenn Rottmann, a certified hypnotherapist, one of the most viewed on the internet. And I'm here with another amazing hypnotherapist.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So, Farah, right?
Yes.
Said the American way. How do you say it the proper way?
Farah Lutvica. Yes.
I mean, I'll never be able to say that.
Or Farah, just, yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
it's easy.
Farah is easy. I mean, come on. Yeah.
But there we go. So, let's talk about kind of your journey with hypnosis so far. What drew you to it? What is your underlying passion for it? It's probably the same for both of us.
Mm. That's a very interesting question because I didn't come from a household where we do hypnosis at all. Like it was the most far-fetched idea that you could come across. My both my grandparents, they were people that had kind of that black and white mindset. Like you just work, come home, and that's it. You don't think about what else is possible or what else is out there. Energy work, spirituality, that was a no go. My grandma was an accountant, and then my mom was is an entrepreneur, and so it's like it wasn't something in my household. And so the moment that I came across it, I saw something about NLP, and then I saw something about hypnosis. I was like, if this actually exists, and if this is real, if you can actually make people go into hypnosis, then I must test it. I must try it out. So, because of my skepticism, I actually went into it. I was like, oh, this shouldn't work at a party. Boom, it worked.
Yeah.
This shouldn't work at a festival. Boom, it worked. Oh, I can't cure someone from their flight phobia. Boom, it worked. And I was like getting evidence after evidence after evidence. And then I was like, wow. And at some point, you kind of roll into it.
Yeah.
That's how it happened for me. And to this day, there's some things I still don't believe. And then I try it. And then I'm like, wow, it works.
Very amazing that way. I think that's because most of us have, because we see something at a fair or nowadays on YouTube or even the stuff I post on Instagram, people will put fake. I'm like, it's not fake. That's why I'm posting and I'm doing it. Look at this person. Look at what they're doing. And I understand that it is natural to think that it's fake because it does look very dramatic.
Yeah.
And I think it's a double-edged sword for me, at least. I use entertainment hypnosis to make people wonder, like, if he can make somebody stuck to a chair or forget their name or hold a lighter up to their arm and feel no pain, can they help me get rid of my anxiety?
Right.
Can they help me overcome my past? The answer is absolutely yes. And the hard part with that is you can't make everybody happy. So some people are going to look at my entertainment hypnosis and go, oh, that is not for me. That's a show. And they're going to miss the whole point that I use entertainment to make people wonder. And for the most part, that's what it does. And that's how I built such a beautiful life for myself in this work. But there are those that see this and think, oh, that's a joke or that's not real. And that's a shame, right? Because what we can do with this tool
Yeah.
is life changing and it can happen
Instantly. Yeah.
which nothing else can do that. When you can take somebody that's allergic to cats and then 15 minutes later, they're not allergic to cats anymore.
And you have that on your YouTube. Like evidence. A girl allergic to cats, you do your allergy technique, and after that, you get the cat into the room and then she just pets it. Like the evidence is there. And so, what makes people not believe in it, or what makes someone reject the idea? I think it has to do with the fact that if you have this certain premise of possibility, and somebody else comes and says, well, something else is possible, you will have to kind of re-examine your whole life up to that point, because actually everything you have been taught might have been a lie or at least not completely true. So And I think that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. I think it takes courage, and I think it takes some reassessment. And I don't think it's easy. Like, oftentimes, even now as a hypnotherapist, I've been doing this for like 10 years as a trainer, 15 years as just someone interested in the field. I still come across things where I'm like, let me re-examine myself and my beliefs. And it's, I think, sometimes much easier to just go off of one belief and then keep with it and then roll with it for the rest of your life. I think it takes some certain, a certain ability to constantly go like, well, what else is possible here? What are the possibilities of our psyche, of our mind, of our behavior? Like, what can we do? What can our unconscious mind do? And the more that I think, like, the more I figure out things or that I start to know, the more I realize I don't know. And I keep on like looping into this journey.
It is. Well, you think about, let's take a stutterer.
Yeah.
Nobody's born a stutterer.
Yeah.
It happens as an anxiety response to something in their life. Now, somebody might have spent their whole lives going to speech therapists and trying all the exercises to overcome it, where literally in 15 minutes, we can take care of a stutter. I can hypnotize someone, open your eyes and speak freely, and they do. The first time I tried it, I was even skeptical myself. I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. But I had to test this. I was first learning, and I said, okay, now remaining in hypnosis, to open your eyes and speak freely. Give me your favorite Starbucks order right now. And they did. They spoke perfect. And I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
This is magic, and it's so powerful. But that challenges somebody's belief that hasn't been exposed to it. That there's no way that can be, because it took speech therapy, it took this, it took that, it took all this work. And we just do it because subconscious mind is that powerful.
Yeah.
There's so many. I'm sure you've heard this, that we're only born with two fears.
Yeah. The sounds. Yeah.
And falling. But if you think about that, we've learned every other fear.
Yeah.
I've said this several times. If you take a baby in a crib and dump a bucket of roaches on them, the baby would play with the roaches and think it was cute and fun.
Yeah.
It wouldn't scream like, oh my gosh, this is horrifying. That would put us in a rubber room. If somebody dumped a box of cockroaches on me, now it can't even look at them. But a baby wouldn't know. If it was a deadly cobra and you put it into a baby's crib, or a rattlesnake, it would think the rattle is cute. So we have to learn our fears and our phobias. So I think that it's a really good kind of transition to talking about the subconscious mind, because in our world, we talk about it every day. But when I listen to other people on the internet or on YouTube or Instagram, and they talk about life, or even some coaches that are supposed to be like the coach and they're really deep, and I hear their conversations and I'm like, that isn't really deep, So I don't think that the rest of the world fully understands the subconscious mind, because that's everything we've been trained in. That's everything we do every day of our life with our clients. But let's chat about that.
Yeah. I once heard this quote, argue for your limitations.
Yeah.
And you get to keep them. And I think that's so true. I think sometimes the anticipation of something is bigger than the act itself. Like, for example, you might have that cat allergy. And so if your belief that hypnosis doesn't work would actually come to surface before you solve it already through a hypnosis technique, then you are bound to stick with the allergy instead of be with the solution. It's like, the way I see it, it's like you have a coin. And then the question is, on which side of the coin are you on? There's that side of you, that unknowing, unaware side, that is like, oh, I'm afraid of hypnosis. What is this? And then there's the other side where you've already fixed the problem, where you've gone through the thing. And sometimes I think we have that anticipation. We're standing on the top of a cliff, and we look down and we see the water, and that, fear to jump. Oh, what will happen if I jump? Can sometimes be greater than just jumping, and then seeing how you will land. And once you're there, you enjoy the water and you're like, "Wow, this was actually nice." And I believe that because you're a hypnotherapist, I'm one too. Like, we constantly get people from that one side of the coin where they're like, "I don't know about this. I'm afraid. Can I open up? I don't believe in it. Will I be able to concentrate, or will I be?" 10 minutes later, half an hour, how long it takes, the other side of the coin, they have jumped and they're like, "Oh, I really like this water. Oh, I really like to swim in here. Oh, I really like this other side of relief, of solution." And I think that the better that we are at this craft, the more that we can showcase to people this metaphor for possibility.
Yeah.
Because if you can heal somebody or help somebody in a certain aspect, then what else is possible? And I believe when we think about stage hypnosis, make someone forget their name or something.
Yeah.
My mind goes, what else is possible? This is a meta for possibility.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the limitations, I guess the part that I have to remember that's challenging, somewhere along the line, it's like we grow up through school and there's subjects that we don't know and we learn them academically. If you don't know how to work in a car, you take a class to be a mechanic. And then when the car breaks down, you're no longer scared because you know the components of the engine. But somehow when it comes to this type of work, there can be a block for people. No, it's like you live your whole life, but have you ever studied the subconscious mind and what can be done through deep medication, through hypnotic work, through trance work? We see images and there's footage of monks that will go out into the snow in a pair of shorts and be completely comfortable in the freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've mastered. Well, how did they master their body? The subconscious mind. Same thing with pain management and pain removal.
Oh, yeah.
Learning techniques like love anesthesia, where you can literally turn off pain in the physical body.
Yeah.
It's the same process those monks use for overcoming the elements from the outside world. The same way I have videos of me holding a flame up to somebody's arm. Now, it will burn their skin if you keep it there. And when they wake up, they're going to feel it. But in hypnosis, they don't.
Yeah.
I've burned people's arm hair and I burn them just by pushing it a little too far. They don't feel it in the moment.
In the moment, yeah.
So there is
That's fascinating.
things that can be mastered and changed.
Yeah.
But most of us have not been brought up that way.
Yeah.
We see life very linear, very black and white, very box. Like this is the box of which you operate in.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem, if you have a trigger in your life, you're taught just to talk about that. Like there's a percentage, I think it's now 70% of couples counseling fails.
Wow.
Because what they do, and I still am a believer in counseling and having support. But what they tend to do is talk about the problem.
Yeah.
Active.
Yeah.
And if all you do is talk about your problems, what are you hypnotically doing to yourself?
You're reinforcing it. Yeah.
Yes, you are making that problem. You are hypnotizing yourself into making that problem a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And, when I don't do a lot of couples work because I prefer the one-on-one, but every now and then I do work with couples. And the second I say that to them, I said, so every week you guys have made the problem bigger and bigger by focusing on the problem. Because if you focus on limitations, you make them bigger.
Yeah.
Focus on possibilities, can make them bigger too.
Yeah.
But as a couple, if you're coming together with a third person and focusing on only the problem, and then at the end of the session, you're both really mad at each other. And now you got to wait a week before you go see the counselor again. You're supposed to get along, right? Now you've just focused on the issue. And I think that's what most of us do in life, especially in the entrepreneurial world, where there are so many people that I talk to and they want to start their own business or they want to start their own company. They want to do something different. but they share their ideas with people who haven't done it. So what do you do?
Or they don't believe in it, or they don't see the possibility, because where focus goes, energy flows always. There's this exercise that Tony Robbins does a lot, and also my hypnosis trainer that I learned a lot from. He goes like, okay, well, focus on everything that's red in the room, close your eyes, now count everything that's blue. And it's like a little metaphor to show us like that we have this thing called the RIS. You probably heard about it, that reticular activation system. Kind of scans the room, scans your life, and then once you have perpetuated this focus point inside of yourself and you see it outside of you, you will tend to focus upon that. And that, I believe, that is what the law of attraction is also about. Not only like, oh, wishy-washy, I hope that this happens, and praying, which I think is also important. But then when it comes to the actuality, the practical part, I tend to do my actions based upon what I focus on. If my focus is on what goes wrong, that's the thing I want to talk about to my friends, or what I want, the reviews I will put on Google or something.
Yeah.
And that's the experience I'm going to perpetuate into my life. And then you can say, well, my life is very stressful and very chaotic, or very this and very that. And it's like, what is the thing that you have been doing consistently that has created this consciously into your experience, and how can we shift that, or at least increase the chance for you not to have that experience? And we can increase the chance by shifting the focus.
Yeah, that is so true. What some people don't understand when they see a lot of my entertainment and stage stuff, they believe hypnosis is supposed to look like sleep and then fall. Sleep and you're out. And that really isn't what hypnosis is. It's really a focused state of awareness, where literally by relaxing, it's like your telescope is getting very focused on the issue you want to work on, and all the distractions leave. And just what you said, if your life is about focusing on all the things that are wrong, if your life is focused on your limitations and your skepticism about what's possible, like when you see a successful person and go, oh, they're successful because they did this at a young age, or they're successful because they did this at an old age, or they're successful because they had this following already, or they were on this show, or they did that. We're rationalizing why we can't have something somebody else has.
Yeah.
Because we're focusing on the wrong thing. Instead of being inspired by somebody else's success, we rationalize because it's not familiar to us, and we're focusing on why we can't have those things. And if we just shift our focus on, okay, I'm not there today. What can I learn? Where can I put my energy? What can I focus on that could bring me there or someplace better? And there's examples of people becoming successful at every age and any age, more than there ever has.
Oh yeah, you have 12-year-olds that are billionaires nowadays. Like,
Had people in the 70s that just became a millionaire or they just started something for themselves, where in the past that wasn't a thought that could have been there for them. So we definitely look too much at limitations. We let logic and reason take over. One of my favorite lines is from a good old Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I love this. In fact, in one of my webinars, I start with his quote, and he goes, if you can see it in your mind, then you believe it's possible.
Yeah.
On his Netflix special, he's in a hot tub with a stogie, right? And he goes, if I could see it, I can't do an impression. He goes, if I can see it in my mind, then it must be possible.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't brought up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine as a kid, if that was if that's what your parents just hypnotized you to believe over and over again by example and through language. If they said to you, Farah, if you can see it in your mind, it's possible. You are limitless. And I don't want you to let anybody else affect the way you think. I don't care if it's hard. I don't care if it's difficult. I don't care if it doesn't work the first time or the 10th time. If you can see it in your mind, you can achieve it. Imagine if you were raised that way.
Yeah. Most people believe in first have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
In Dutch we would say eerst zien dan geloven. And I believe that we both believe first believe it to see it. And I love that you use the word inspire. People need to get inspired. And to be inspired, it means to be inspired, in spirit. So in yourself, going from the inside out instead of the outside in. And I think the hallucination that most people make is because this world around us is so prevalent that I can act upon it first before my thoughts like act upon it. So if I don't go from into the world from this inspired place, and I tend to make the world the place of my actions, so then I will wake up, respond to emails, or do whatever the world demands of me. Whereas if I'm inspired, I wake up first, set my intention, set my energy right, and then go out and about and see what the world can bring. And I think this is also a difference, because it's easier. I think it's easier to practice your focus if you have more time to focus on the thing that you want to focus on. But if you're constantly exposed to the bad news, to the environment that is constantly nagging on you or criticizing you, how and where are you gonna get that inspiration from? Like there's, Gary Vaynerchuk, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things he says is like, close off the world, like put on headphones if you're young, like try to mute the noises around you. And I think it ties to this idea of inspiration, because at some point you need to create something internally or in your life where you can kind of get into a context of inspiration. And I think this is what we do with our work. I think most people that come to me, at least, they're like, oh, I finally have an outlet, or I've never felt this relaxed before, because finally they're out of their world, basically out of constantly replying and responding to all the demands around them, and finally filtering their focus into one direction. And that filtering that we do, it perpetuates so much to come after it. And then their life gets better because obviously they focus on better things. Like you can help someone fix a phobia around cats or like flights or whatever. And next thing you know, they say, my relationship got better. It's like, what a correlation. How did that happen? It's because there's more focus on the good stuff. Guess what? If I, to my partner, emphasize on the good stuff, wow, you did this great today, and you're so beautiful, you're so nice, and so this went so well, so well, so well. What happens is this person feels better, I feel better, and we both go off of that energy of goodness. Whereas, oh, you didn't take out the trash again today. Oh, like focus on the bad, focus on the bad. What happens is the next time, and this is with association, this person is like associating the bad towards you, and then they want to get away. And that's how the beginning of the end starts. So I think we create the beginning of the beginning for a lot of people. And that is very interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. It is one of, and I drill this into people I work with when they use age as an excuse and a limitation. I'm a little bit older than you, so I'll probably have, but we both have clients of all ages. But
Yeah.
when I hear somebody say at my age, and I pause it and say, what do you mean at your age? I tell them the story of my hero, Jack LaLanne. You probably don't know of Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne was the first American fitness hero. Back in the days of black and white TV, he had like the very first calisthenics show or exercise show, right? And so every year he would do a birthday challenge at 70 years old. And there's pictures of this on the internet. He had his hands in shackles and he had a rope around his waist, and he was in the ocean, and he pulled 70 rowboats with people in each boat. He pulled 70 rowboats across the bay of the ocean at 70 years old.
70. Nice.
Said if Jack LaLanne can do that at 70, you can rebuild your life at 70 or 60 or 80.
Yeah.
It's such a great example of what's possible, you know? And so he never accepted limitations. And so I don't expect, I mean, I can't pull a rowboat with probably 10 people in it, but 70 of them, this it's crazy. Look at these photos. They're black and white and they're amazing. It's like he's insane. But he wasn't insane. That was his focus. His whole life was about challenges and fitness challenges and goals. And that's all he saw. That's all he focused on. And at the same time, he focused on helping others, spreading joy and motivation. And that made his life beautiful. His wife's name was Elaine. So you had Jack LaLanne and Elaine LaLanne. That's quite funny. But I use him a lot when I hear people talk about their age and their limitations. There are more examples than ever before of people in their 70s, ripped and in shape. You know, it's things that weren't really seen 20, 30, 40 years ago. But there's so many examples of people that change their life at every and any age, but they're locked in to subconscious patterns that we all run, that as you know, people are not aware of. Now, why do we have, when somebody says this hypnosis work, I ask them, well, why are you wearing the shirt that you're wearing? Why do you like the jewelry you like? Why do you like the music you like? Because you were influenced by suggestion from somebody else.
Yep.
And that's true for every area of our life. Our limitations were influenced by suggestions from other people. They were influenced by looking at life circumstances the wrong way.
Yeah. Or the right way for that moment in time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't applicable later on anymore.
Yeah.
And then someone's got stuck into a loop of the past unconsciously. So it's like a part of them is still there and another part has grown up and they just don't know it because they're unconscious about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're literally walking around with old software. And
So we gotta update. Grow it up until now and boom, collapse it.
One of my favorite sayings, it's not mine, I forget where I heard it, but I use this in a lot of sessions. Especially in the induction, I'll say something like, now as you feel the support that's there for you in this moment, life is also supporting you in the same way. From this day forward, no matter what you do, no matter what challenge you take on, you will either succeed or you will learn something. Oh, beautiful outcome.
Yeah.
And what a perfect way to frame your life. But instead of seeing it that way, we get stuck to thinking that we're not enough, or that was a failure, or I keep failing over and over again. I suggest that you're not failing, you're learning something. You're looking at it the wrong way. And you're missing the opportunity that life is giving you through that lesson. And as you know, lessons aren't always kind. They're not, I wished I would have gotten my life lessons a lot softer. I'm like, thanks, God, thanks, universe. Couldn't you be a little softer? And then it probably says you wouldn't have listened. Right?
So what to you then is the difference between learning and limitation?
Learning and limitation, at least for me, it really comes down to realizing this isn't that. That what's happening today isn't what happened yesterday. Because I'm a different person experiencing that. And if I choose to get stuck in an old pattern, I'll see something that didn't work out as a limitation. Oh God, that day, every time I try, this fails. Doesn't work.
Right.
Must not be right for me. Or especially, one of the greatest disservices, I think, of Instagram is the illusion of the overnight success, the overnight millionaire. Most businesses take 5 years to become profitable. And that's not putting a limitation on it.
Yeah.
When you
Not just statistics, yeah.
When you talk to really successful entrepreneurs, a lot of them have had failed businesses, but they wouldn't consider it that way. They just found many ways not to do that one thing they wanted to do, and that was learning.
Yeah.
And the same thing in my own journey as an entrepreneur. There's things that I had to learn. There's choices I made that didn't work the way I wanted them to, but I learned from them. not to do that again and what needed to happen in order for that to be successful.
Yeah. So you're saying that the learning is basically that next, like the thing that is closer to the win that is coming up. Whereas if something were a failure, it would be like, well, it states it as a fact. It's not gonna bring me closer to my win. It's like it's a dead end.
Yeah.
This is bound to happen all the time. And so, what do you think creates that within people? How come this one person can go, wow, now I learned something that's gonna, perpetuate me to my win like sooner now, whereas the other person goes, oh, I missed my mark, I missed my shot, and I'm a failure now, and nothing good's gonna happen from here. Like, what's the difference?
One word, mindset.
Mindset.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
And go back to Arnold, like they said to him, well, when it was difficult, why didn't you just quit and walk away? And he says, because quitting wasn't in my vision. Really simple. When your mindset says quitting is not in my vision, giving up isn't an option. I'm just going to find another way to do it. But a lot of times life breaks people down because they're stuck. I also work in rehab centers sometimes, and I work recovering addiction. And I learn to see people this way now. I don't see broken people. I see broken mindsets.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what makes a broken person.
Yeah.
You weren't broken. Your mindset is broken. And once we identify that, we can rebuild it.
Yeah.
I've learned there is no problem so bad that it cannot doesn't. We have to need somebody to teach us that. Like the same way, you didn't know math, so you had a math teacher. You didn't know language arts, so you had a language arts teacher. You didn't know history, you had a history teacher. We're not given a mindset automatically. So we need a mindset teacher, right? We need a spiritual coach. We need, whether that is your pastor at church, whether that is a spiritual guru, so to speak, or a hypnotherapist that can open you up to seeing things differently and experiencing more of the world. It's what we need. But for some reason, I heard somebody say to me once, well, you believe what you believe. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Well, I don't know what to believe if you haven't been taught beliefs, if you haven't explored different areas of thoughts and spirituality and different areas to grow. How do you know what to believe? So I think that I certainly initially wasn't growing up, wasn't raised with that kind of mindset of limitations aren't an option, I did start to learn it in high school when I took the Silva method, which was a class on self-hypnosis. And that was amazing. I took that in high school. And even with Jose Silva, I took a weekend class with him.
How did you come about hypnosis then? Like in high school?
Well, sort of. My mom had a friend that took this class called the Silva method. And I remember she had me go to one of the next ones. And to this day, I still talk to my Silva instructor. She's like my second mom.
Oh, wow.
4 times a year we talk and just check in about life. And she's kind of my guru teacher still to this day, and it's amazing the things that she helped me and taught me with. I guess I can share this story because we were talking earlier about spirituality, and I've never shared this in this kind of a format. This is pretty intense.
Okay, I'm ready.
This is and some people, I can tell this story and will say that's coincidence, which just means 2 things coinciding in the same place.
Oh, I like that.
But it wasn't by chance. And I know there's some people that will say to you, you think about somebody, then the phone rings, right? Well, you created that. But then they say, well, how about all the time you thought about that person and the phone didn't ring? So
Yeah.
there's 2 sides of this coin. But, growing up, there was a time my parents divorced early on when I was young. That wasn't really prevalent when I was growing up in my small town. Now, it's almost a norm, unfortunately. But where I grew up, that didn't exist. So my parents split up. And there was a period of time my dad was going through his own thing. So he wasn't so much in my life. And I was working with Ginger, the instructor. I was maybe 17, 16 and a half, 17. And we were working on healing the relationship with my dad. And so we did a couple sessions, which was us talking and then her doing hypnosis for me, basically. And I remember she said, okay, you're good now. We're done. I'm like, we're done? Yes, we're done. Because there's a point where something goes from healing to healed.
Wow.
Instead of just saying, and that's true. There is a point when certain is healed. Was it Thursday night? This is like clear as yesterday. It was a Thursday night, and I came home for my session. It was about 5:30, and that night I had rehearsal in my high school for our play that I was in. There was a knock on my door, 5:30. Nobody else was. My mom wasn't home. My sister wasn't home. God damn, my dad showed up at the front door. Knocked on the door. Knocked up, and I was like, he didn't even know why he was there. I knew why he was there.
Wow.
He just showed up there. He's like, hey, son. I'm like, Dad, do you want to come in? And I came in, and I said, by the way, I'm going to play this weekend. Do you want to come see it? And he came that weekend. From that day forward, he was back in my life. I'm like, never, ever, he wasn't ever not there. And from that day forward, our relationship was amazing. He was like close, we were tight, but nothing had to be said. Is that amazing? Wow. So that is my testament to why this really works. And unfortunately, for a lot of my life, until maybe 15 years ago, I didn't live that. I lived in a logical world. I was a sales manager. I was making a living, but I wasn't fulfilling my higher purpose, And fulfilling that through this kind of work is my life's purpose on my life journey. I just tapped into it a little later than life, but it was always there.
Yeah.
That example was so powerful, and it was amazing. I'm like, I saw him like, of course it's my dad. Of course he's but it was that very same night. We finished that day, then he shows up that night. How amazing is that? That's the kind of work you do.
Yeah.
And I do. In my Hypno Vault, I have a session on healing a relationship with somebody that isn't in your life in the moment. And I've done this with several people. And next thing you know, that relationship is healed. And they're back in this life. There is something so magical to this world. That was kind of heavy. I know that was someone. Right.
It's so amazing. Another metaphor possibility.
It's important to realize there is so much more here.
So much.
That we've only tapped into what's really, really possible. And this is a beautiful life. And what I had with my dad is magical. That change moment. It's like my whole childhood was healed in that very moment. And there's no reason to go back to it again, to move forward.
And
it's beautiful.
And do you remember that point of that from healing to healed, that transition point during the sessions that you had?
Not like I was a kid then. So I didn't recognize it the way I would recognize now. But there is a point with our clients where I tell them in the session, and I know when it is, I said, you can always, some people maybe we'll call it a spiritual Band-Aid, would you say? And they keep going back. So let's say we're doing a session on somebody that has childhood trauma, or they've been physically abused in a horrible way. And obviously only an experienced therapist does this. You don't go back. As you know, we have them re-experience it from a detached state. You never bring somebody back to relive it, right? We go back to...
And if so, it would be with a purpose to resolve it or something very peculiar or particular, but not just to, relive the whole thing just because,
But that session, I only do one time. We go back one time.
Yeah.
And then we heal it, then it's over.
Yeah.
We never have to go back again. And I think that's one of the issues where regulars counseling can fail us.
Yeah.
Or somebody that's not really seasoned yet in this area. But that's the beautiful thing of the work we do, making somebody go from healing
to healed.
Yeah. To where, okay, that's done. And it doesn't, it's interesting to describe to people. It's not like you forget it happened to you. You don't forget, but the emotional connection, that cord is cut,
Oh, yeah.
right? So you can think about moments in your life and it's like, yeah, okay, that's a picture, but that's all it is. There's no emotions or feelings attached to it. So this is, and sometimes I think it's good, like right now, to really state how powerful this work is. That this isn't just a stage hypnosis show, or it's not just forget your name, or you can't open your eyes. It really is
A metaphor possibility.
possibilities. This changes people's lives. It's changed my life experience, your life. It's brought me into the most amazing opportunities and the most amazing experience with people. Now, so tell me one of your favorite client stories. Either something practical or something impractical, you know?
I mean, I've had many, so it's hard to,
I know.
categorize. But like,
Mine.
what comes to mind is this guy that I helped a few months ago, and he was a drug addict. However, he was in a rehab center, and so by force he had to stop drugs, but it was in his mind, and they took away his driver's license. He couldn't go to work. He was under supervision, and he had a psychologist and a psychotherapist and everything in between, and he constantly had to justify his actions, go for curfew, do this, do that, was sent out of home, was in that center, and he did not have any perspective, and he had a big desire for the drugs because he was like, well, you took it away from me, but like, I want to do it. Like, hello. And so I talked to him and I was like, well, tell me the story. And then he said, when I was 13, I started doing drugs, which is, I think, in my perspective, quite young to start to do something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what got you into it? And then he said, well, my parents were always fighting. And then I said to him, how creative of you. He said, how do you mean? I said, well, walk me through how that looked like. He was like, well, I would get out of the house, sneak out, get the drugs, and I'd have my own thing to do. And I'd have a place where I was safe. And I said, this is so creative because as a 13-year-old, you couldn't get out of the house differently. You couldn't get your own place legally, even if you wanted to. So you found a way out. And I said, I congratulate you on your creativity that you have found a way. And at that point, just me acknowledging the part of him, his creativity, he broke down crying. He said, for like all of these past years, that I have been in and out of rehab and talking to psychologists, is that they always said that it was very wrong of me to do that I should have been more responsible. And you're the only one that acknowledges it. Yeah. I'm like, of course I do, because I do believe that you had no other choice at that point. And then I said, let's expand on your creativity. Let's take that part that is so creative and that helped you out in that time, even though it wasn't the best thing for you, it was the best thing for you at the moment. And now that you are older, let's expand upon that and get your unconscious involved so that it can be very creative for you again, just now in different ways that serve you more and are healthier for you. Are you open for that? And he said, oh, yes, please. And then we did like an hypnosis intervention where I basically talked his unconscious mind, and he found ways to relax and to get into his center without needing drugs, right? So we expand the territory because your unconscious can do that if it finally gets the space and instruction. And what happened after that is not only did he not have the desire for the drugs anymore, which I don't really mind. Like, if someone wants to do it recreationally, who am I to say anything against it? Like, I'm a very neutral I have a neutral perspective on it. Do what you are congruent with. If you're not, then change it.
From another country.
Yes, I mean Amsterdam. So
Nothing to do with it.
no, I don't know, but like, as in, like, I'm for congruence. I'm not for or against. I'm not judging. Like, it's congruence. And so I do believe if you experience limitation, then let's expand on possibility. That's all I am about. So what happened then is, because he showed good conduct, he could get his driver's license back. And the next time was like 2 months or so after, we had another session, and then he said, not only did I get my driver's license back, I can actually drive again. I passed like that, all the tests. I got out of the rehab center, and yesterday I just got accepted into a new job. And his whole life shifted because he he learned a lesson. He went from healing to healed. And I believe that a very big part of it is the acknowledgement. There is so many emphasis sometimes, so many shaming around that problem that someone does, and then the society going, that is bad. Like, for example, someone that would admit to the world, I cheated in my relationship. How could you? That is so wrong, so bad. And bam, you install like even more shame and secrecy around it. Whereas I believe if you would say, okay, what was the need behind that? What did you seek? What are you seeking that you're not getting? Like, and let's go from healing to healed, so that we increase the chance of you doing something different. Whereas if we constantly go like, this should not exist, and even to me in school, in high school, they said it to me, oh, Farah, you have ADD, like attention deficit disorder. Here you have pills because, you should focus. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know better. My mom just felt in intuitively. She was like, these drugs are not good for you. They will flatten you out. And I took them for one day, and I was like, I don't like how this makes me feel. And I just never took it again. But didn't I have those, if I hadn't had those parents, or if I hadn't had that conviction from the inside, I would probably buy into the idea that a part of me cannot exist. And if we want to change something about ourselves, we have to add options. So it's not like, I think it's in semantics. We say, get rid of the fears, like get rid of your phobia with this technique, phobia cure. That's even a name for technique. But I think what in actuality happens is we increase the choices for this better alternative, where your mind is like, if I had to choose between fear and being relaxed, I will go for relaxed any day, but I don't have that choice yet. But like, we are expanding on choices. We are extending choices. We are giving choice to people because their unconscious mind can fill in the gaps that they haven't filled in yet. And then they become free. So I think that was one of the greater parts, because it showed me something about acknowledgement, how important that is. We should not shame people. If they come to you with a problem, you should say how creative of you that you have, at that point in time when you came up with it, was very creative, and it got you out of the mess, at least for in some extent, in some form, from at that point. And now we go into time, we go into the future, and let's now learn the lessons that right now can teach you, so that you don't have to repeat the pattern of the past. And that's how you break free from your limitations.
One of the things I share with when I meet clients in the rehab center for the first time, I think this is something that everybody that struggles with addiction should understand. People that have addiction issues have actually something very healthy, but it's just focused in the wrong area.
Yeah.
So when I say to somebody, I said, listen, you have gone beyond out of your way, right, to continue something that logically is bad for you. You didn't have the money, but you found a way to get it. You couldn't find a place to actually do it in, so you found a place to do it in. Against all odds, you found a way to continue this addiction. Well, what does a successful entrepreneur do? He focuses on his business when all logic might tell him no, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
He finds another solution when there doesn't seem to be a way, and he doesn't give up. Even when the world gives him so many reasons to quit, he finds a way to keep going. Or she finds a way to keep going. Isn't that the same pattern? just focused in a different area. So when I show them that there's a part of you that has something the average person doesn't, and when we can refocus that, what you
Yeah.
can create in your life now is unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it is so beautiful, but
Yeah.
we gotta get them to see that
How creative it is, how amazing it
it is.
actually is.
Just have
And
to
the
focus.
the premise again, what you are saying is also like, in essence, it's okay, it's good. It's just maybe not efficient in this context that you have tried to apply your behavior on.
Yeah.
But in essence, there's nothing wrong with you. That's basically what it implies. There's nothing we need to fix. We just gotta, adjust the direction that you're doing the same thing in so that you can use that resource or resourcefulness of you into something that would be more beneficial into your life.
Yeah. Gotta refocus that pattern. And
Yeah.
I know that sounds simple.
It sounds simple. Yeah.
There could be a lot of emotions attached to that. No, that's what we do. That's what we're here for. But it is amazing what happens to someone when they get that path of recovery and they refocus that pattern. The world
No.
opens up.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I've seen people in their most broken state, just a complete mess, to having a beautiful, productive life with relationships and helping others. It's amazing to watch what can happen,
Yeah.
And this is a critical component of it. Doing this subconscious work. I mean, it is important. I'm a big believer in the 12 steps and in group and support.
Which 12 steps?
The 12 step of AA.
What's that?
Oh, you don't know the 12 step? Oh, so 12 steps. Oh, you're right. They're all over the world, but 12 steps, it's a program
Right.
that we use for addiction. There's AA, alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
That's a 12-step program.
Oh, yeah.
There's also Al-Anon, which is a 12-step program for friends and family of alcoholics, which isn't as well known, which should be. That is a beautiful support system for anyone that's struggling with, or someone that's affected with a friend or family member that is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And there's also NA, Narcotics Anonymous. There's Codependence Anonymous. But these groups are life-changing because you get to connect, you get support, which I think is another important point, that we were never meant to live life alone.
Yeah.
We don't need to solve our problems alone. But somewhere along the way, addictions or even just negative emotion or frustrations in life become an isolating thing where, it's like, this didn't work out. I just want to be alone. Leave me alone. It's away from me, right? When what you really need, what you're truly craving is connection in that moment.
Yeah.
But you're feeling so defeated that picking up the phone or doing something that might be positive,
Yeah.
it's like behind that wall.
And then to your point, and it's almost cruel in that perspective to think that then finally you find your resource, let's call it drugs or whatever, that would give you that sense of connection finally.
Yeah.
And then bam, you take it away from somebody. It's like, if that is the only perspective you have, like, this is my way of connection, this is the only way I can get to connect, and you take that away from me, then in that perspective it would become very cruel.
Yeah.
And so that's
Something away, you must replace it.
You must replace it, and not just like, put someone in a closed room and be like, well, figure it out yourself. Just don't think about drugs. Don't think about it. What do? I think about it.
So it in essence work that with you. If it's a fear or phobia, you take away the fear and replace it with something else.
100%.
Pattern. There's
Yeah.
there is that
There's
there's a metaphor or a law around or something like that. But most people don't like to have things taken away from them. Even when it's for their own good, the subconscious mind does not like.
No, that's why we have to add up on things, and then you will naturally choose the best option available instead of taking things away and then magically hoping that you will just not have the desire anymore. I mean, that's a bit silly to me in a way.
It is. One of my favorite I learned this from another hypnotherapist who was a great teacher, and he said in his session when he worked with smokers, he says this early on in the session. He'll say, most people don't like to have things taken away from them. Now, I could make you quit smoking today right now, and it would last for a day, a week, maybe 2 weeks, but you'll take it back because I'm taking it away from you. But if you make the decision today that this is for you, then that is your choice. That is your win. And it will not only last today and tomorrow, it will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so that kind of remembering that approach, it's like, yeah, I'm not here to force the change. My words are here to guide you into making your change. And that is what makes an effective session versus a resistance kind of session. Show you a cool exercise. When you have somebody that has two choices to make in life and they don't know which one, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I had an acting coach once tell me, do you know what the definition of the word dilemma is? And he goes, a dilemma is a situation where both outcomes seem negative, right? I'm like, simple, but yeah, that makes sense. But in life, a lot of times we will see opportunities as dilemmas. What I call them high quality problems, Like somebody is like, well, I have this job, but I have another opportunity for this career. I got another job. I'm like, that's wonderful. They're like, no, it's not, because now I don't know what to do. Like, first of all, be thankful that you have these opportunities. How beautiful is that? You have the choice to turn something down, to say yes or to say no. Instead of looking at it as a problem, looking at it as opportunity. So, what do I do when somebody has two choices without even knowing the choice they have to make, or without me knowing what the two options are? I'll say, okay, so you have two choices in life right now. There's maybe an opportunity you're thinking about, right?
Oh, let's take me in as an example. Yeah.
You don't have to say what it is, but I know
Okay,
it's something you might be struggling with, or maybe it struggles in the right. There's something you're considering.
Yeah.
You're not sure which direction to go in, right?
Yeah.
So think about option A. Option A is to stay the same where it is.
Okay.
Path. Now, there's heads and there's tails on this coin. So if it lands on heads, do you want heads to mean option A? Or do
Yeah.
you want, okay, so heads is option A. Tails is option B. And you know what option B is, right?
Yeah.
So now we have option A and we have option B. Now, whatever this coin lands on is what you've been.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So hopefully I can flip this right. And this isn't.
By the way, he has a 50-cent euro coin in his hand, which is very funny.
Is it? I am. All right, we're gonna flip it and let's see what happens. So now, heads is A, you stay the same. Tails is B, you make the turn.
Oh my god.
So it is tails. Now, most importantly, when I flipped the coin in the air,
Oh yeah.
what did you want it to land on? Part of you knows what you wanted it to land on before I even flipped it, did you not?
I think so. This all happening so fast that I'm like, what just happened?
What did your spirit tell you when the coin was in the air? Or right before I flipped it?
It said yes with time.
Okay.
And that's like
So
a congruent thing.
before I even flipped it,
Yeah.
you already knew that you wanted it to be option B, but with some time.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah, it's like it makes the unconscious conscious very quick.
Yes, you always know. At some level, we always know the answer, but we let circumstances get in the way, or fears get in the way, or I don't see how this could possibly work and still maintain this.
Yeah.
There's fears. So when you do this, I do this with clients, and they always know the answer inside before I flip the coin. I didn't write this technique. I forget where I saw this. I saw this somewhere. And I don't know why you even need to say that, but it's a cool technique to use. And it does bring clarity, because when that's in the air, there's a part of you that wants permission, that needs something else outside of yourself to give you permission to do what your spirit is telling you.
Yeah. Or to just emphasize on the clarity of the thought, like, because if the answer with me, for example, is yes with time, there is still that element with time that prior to this exercise I was not really conscious of.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's not only about permission, it's also about, becoming more clear about what actually is happening within the mind. It's a very nice exercise.
I think it's about allowing yourself to listen to yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And when you say with time as well, there is nothing wrong with being strategic.
Yeah.
There's one area I disagree with. I love Tony Robbins, but I completely disagree with him when he says, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. You don't quit your job on an idea that I want to do this and just throw it all to the wind.
Yeah.
There
is some element of, if part of the lesson is responsibility, and you're gonna take away that lesson by shifting gears and by burning the boats, then that's not a wise thing to do. But if you can preserve that lesson and then shift gears, I think you are doing the right thing.
Committing to something, yes, 100%. But you don't need to burn the boats in your lights. You commit to something. I was working with the client, and he was a big investment type of banker where he would grow money for his, boss's funds to fund other businesses and ventures. And he did one on his own, and it didn't work out the way he wanted to. And so he was like, I don't know what to do now. I don't want to keep working for this person, making him rich. But when I did it on my own, it didn't work. Right now, I don't have the money to do it on my own again. I said, well, why don't you take this next 6 months? Why don't you just commit to your regular job? And why don't you not go out at night? Why don't you not go to the movies? Why don't you not spend money? Why don't you save every dime for 6 months? And then in 6 months, go ahead and start your own fund again. He goes, well, isn't that failure if I go back to a regular job? I said, what are you talking about? That's strategy.
Yeah.
It's something you can control right now. And it's a strategy. You're not going back to work to a regular job to stay there. It's a stepping stone for your life. So strategy, especially when you have kids or houses or mortgages, or you have maybe a lot of responsibilities where you can't just pick up and go.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with being strategic. And something happens when you set somebody on a course. All of a sudden, their job doesn't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah.
When you have a goal.
Yeah.
And you see that goal. So,
yeah.
burning the boats. No, you don't burn the boat. You make a vision.
Yeah.
And you make that vision.
And it ties back again to that whole thing about inspiration, because you are looking at your environment. However, you are not identifying with it to the extent that you base your whole beliefs or your lives around that. You have your own beliefs, your own inspiration that you tap into, that kind of almost transgresses that 6-month frame in this example, or whatever someone is in, that like you said, it's a stepping stone. And so I wonder, like, if everything is based on these reframes and definitions, like, oh, this is a stepping stone, or this is like that, then isn't it just logical, efficient to think of everything in your life in such a way that even if you haven't found the right reframe yet, to just think that in some way, what I'm going through is beneficial to me in some form. I just maybe haven't found out what it is yet, but I will. And at some moment, I will get that epiphany. But now that I know that I will get there, I might as well already believe that this amazing reframe exists for me. And so then I can just make everything okay for me again. And then even if I'm not inspired by my environment, and even if I don't have that inspiration within yet, I still know that that inspiration is there. So therefore, I can already believe in that. And I think that even creates that reframe. So for you, like, you gave him the reframe of, well, this is a stepping stone, and then he believed it. But wouldn't it be okay for people already to be like, well, even if I don't know the reframe, I'll just believe it's there, and that will just make me feel good.
No, it's so true. And I don't think we're meant to know the whole picture all the time.
Yeah.
Because life has a way of growing you into that person.
Yeah.
You know?
I really wanted to ask you about this because you said earlier that that emotional connection, you kind of shut it off, you like break ties with the emotional connection, and then, for example, your dad showed up at that point, or like you see with clients things happening. Now I know that in your Hypno Vault you have this category spirituality, and I really wonder, do you believe that cutting that emotional tie for somebody correlates to them learning the spiritual lesson, if there is any, uh, of them having that experience in the first place, and that is then the reason for their life changing? Or do you believe, oh, it's just an emotional tie, they break it, and now their whole life changes?
Yeah, I think it's both.
Oh yeah.
I know some people believe everything happens for a reason. I don't believe everything happens for a reason. I do believe a lot of things happen for a reason. But I don't think if you're walking out of the building and you stub your toe against the wall and you broke your toe, I don't believe that happened for a reason. I believe it's happened because it did. But I do believe through our relationships. I do believe that people come into our life for a reason. I do believe that life has us experience certain things to grow. And I do believe there's reasons in so many of the things that we experience. And sometimes for people, when we examine their past, sometimes the reason is for you to learn that had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
That what you picked up was somebody else's belief and their limitations. And your lesson is that's not who you are. Let it go. So sometimes the lesson is let it go. But I do believe there is a higher power. You want to call that Jesus, God, whether you want to call that Buddha, whatever region of the world you were born in, and what your spiritual connection to our Creator is. I do believe in that. And for me, obviously I grew up in the United States, so for me, I would call that Jesus. I would call that God in my connection to it. But I tend to call it a higher power because that universally fits other people's beliefs.
Yeah. So the moment that that emotional tie is disconnected, you get closer to that higher power. Is that what you're saying?
I think that the cool thing about what we do, hypnotherapy, is to be a giant umbrella, right? It can be really spiritual. We can talk about many religions have past lives in them.
Yeah.
Hinduism has a big belief system about lives and lives and lives occurring. Many religions, some say that there were books in the Bible that aren't included, that there were other canons that weren't included in our Bible that talked about reincarnation. Whether that's true or not, I'm not here to debate it, but I've heard pretty intelligent people say or provide evidence of that. So we can go into that spiritual world and go. Now, that past life regression doesn't necessarily sit well with everyone.
Yeah.
So the great thing is, if it doesn't sit well with them, it doesn't have to. If you're not called in that direction, fine. That's okay. We can be very practical in the work that we do. We can be very focused on just the things we're dealing with today in our life. And so you're really able to meet people wherever they sit, if they're really spiritual or if they're not. If they're really practical or if they're not, you can meet them. And that's what's so great about this kind of work. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Sometimes I tend to shy away from my spiritual side in talking about it with others.
Yeah.
It's because I know you can't please everybody.
Oh yeah.
But I never want to turn people off to the gift that we have to offer them because I'm labeling it something different than they connect with. But I know you also can't please everybody. So not everybody's meant to be my client.
Yeah. To me personally, when I saw that in your program, like the Hypno Vault, which I think you all should join, it's an amazing thing. I was honestly astounded by how much content you put in there. There's things on every category that you can possibly think of. I was fascinated by you even have like a little lesson on how to deal with, someone that is snoring. Like how to sleep peace. Yeah, sleeping next to snore. Like how amazing is that? Like it's a specific problem and here I have a specific solution. But what actually for me brought me closer to you is when I saw that category of spirituality. Because I thought, here's this man that knows everything about NLP, sales, relationships, and he is open enough to share with the world that kind of vulnerable side as well, because what you say, like it's not always so welcome, and yet you put it out there next to all the other categories you have. And I think that's beautiful that you, first of all, you dare to do that, but also that you are sharing your gift in that respect. I really like it. Yeah.
One of the more recent sessions I put in the book, and this was actually from Dinger, my soap instructor from way back when. She said to me, Glenn, if you knew how many angels surrounded you
Yeah.
always, you would literally go crazy and admire. There's a reason you don't know just how surrounded we all are by angels. And I heard that and I was like, so one of my recent sessions is connecting with your angels. And that one.
That one is the one I did yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I did it. I also like you had another one in another category of your inner guidance, connecting to your inner guidance, and then the angels one. I did them both. Yeah.
Wonderful. I love it. Because they are there. But in order to experience it, we have to be mindful to connect with it. Mindfulness is a practice.
Yeah.
It's not something you do one time. If you want to feel that you are surrounded by fear and guided.
Yeah. If you constantly put yourself in that feeling of I am supported, life happens for me, not to me. I believe that I heard this one quote one time, I think from Louis Hay, who said, everyone loves me, just not everyone knows it yet. And I took it on. I took it on like my second skin. I honestly go through the world like that because I can think of the world as a hostile place where everyone is out to get you or something. And it might also be true. But how much more enjoyment can I have just by going into the world thinking that it's full of love and that it's just yet to happen to circle back to me in experience? And if it doesn't happen, well, then it's going to happen tomorrow. It's a way better reframe than constantly being on edge. And yes, I do believe that you have to keep yourself safe and that there are people out there that might not be the safest option to be around or to be close to. However, overall, I think a good portion of people are actually good people. And I think we would miss out on them if we, by hindsight or immediately already have this frame of, watch out, they're gonna misuse you or whatever. So I honestly believe that also coming from a bullied past, I was bullied, I changed schools and everything. Coming from that frame of mind that people are out to get you, to now thinking, oh, everyone loves me, just not everyone realizes it yet or knows it or has shown it to me yet. It's like a great thing and it makes me feel much more safe in this world.
Say that one more time. Everybody loves me.
Everybody loves me, just not everyone knows it yet.
Oh, that's going to be on my on my hand. Everybody loves me. Not everybody knows it. Yes, that is true. Well, there's a line from my favorite bands, Rush. And it goes, folks are basically decent, conventional wisdom would say, but we read about the exceptions in the papers every day.
Yeah.
So the world is, I know this firsthand, I think, as well as or better than anyone. I've had the privilege of working with clients in every country, countries I didn't know were countries, never heard it before. We are not so different like the news tells us we are. We are not so divided like politicians make us be, choosing one side or the other. You're with me or against me. If you voted for this person, don't show up at my table. Those are the fanatical exceptions, And especially in the United States, the politicians that get the most coverage are the extreme on both sides, that are specifically making their living out of controlling you through anger. by making you feel that you are better than somebody else, that you know more than somebody else, and how dare somebody else think different than you. That is not 95% of our world. It isn't. When I get together when I lead seminars, when I do groups, when I hear people share vulnerably, all similar. We all want this. At least 95% of us want the same thing, and we share common ground. I do not believe for 1 second that we are what the media and the news and certain world leaders portray us to be. I've seen that firsthand. No matter where you're from, most people struggle with the fact that I don't feel like I'm enough.
Yeah.
I feel like there are parts of me that aren't right, or I'm crazy because I think this or I think that.
Yeah.
I want a great relationship with my kids or my family or my career. We all share these things in common. We all laugh, we all love, we all cry. That we're not that different. But we have to turn off those sources that try to make us believe that we are. And I think that this is where we came that from. Having really beautiful, open conversations, sharing our life experiences, sharing kind of what we experience with our clients, and showing people there is another way to live this life. Reality is what you make it. Why is reality living in a negative state? Why is reality believing that this is all there is to life? Reality is limitless. It's friendships, it's connection, it's experiences, it's opening yourself up to being vulnerable and not so locked in.
Yeah, and letting go of the chains of shame. Letting go of all those chains that hold somebody back and unleashing the power.
And maybe you've noticed this already, but truly successful people are open to ideas. The most unsuccessful people I know everything. And no matter what you try to tell them, they already know the answer. But when I see truly successful people, they want to hear your ideas. They want to know your point of view, and they incorporate it. And I think truly happy people are the same way. They don't know it all. I want to hear what you have to think and how you see life. And I want to know what other people do. That's why this mentoring process is so beautiful also.
Yeah.
But too many people, they know we know it all. And I've been, in with friends, and somebody will ask me about an aspect of my business, and I'll explain to them how they can do what I've done. And they'll be like, no, you don't understand this, that, and this. And I'm like, you asked me a question, how to become successful. I've given you the answer, and you're still not listening because you think you know it all. You don't, and neither do I. But I know about this aspect because I had to learn it. So are you open to listening, or do you want to stay the same? But some people, are just not ready yet. And I think that was a tough lesson for me to learn. And I learned this from one of, this guy's name is Chill. And exactly what you would think of a guy named Chill, the coolest guy ever. And there was a time in the rehab centers, I was getting a little frustrated because I was like, I'm here. I'm giving you the answer. I'm here to show you another way. Why aren't you listening? And he said, your job is not to judge. Your job isn't to judge your client. Your job is to love them.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you can love somebody into change. And also,
That's true.
love them into change. And also, I believe that people's behaviors show how tied they are to the perceived or unperceived benefits they get from it. And so when those benefits are larger, they seem larger than the solution is, we have no way to break them free from it. However, we can, through good interventions, shift that around. In NLP, we have this thing called collapsing anchors. We can collapse them into that other side of the coin. If, for example, someone is addicted and they have all these benefits, well, this is how I get my significance, or this is how I get connection, this is how I feel relief, whatever, blah, blah. But then we have this other underdeveloped side that also has connection, relief, whatever. We can flip that for them. Then, yeah, things can happen for them. However, people want to change, but they don't want to be changed. People want to inspire themselves to change, and they want you to be a catalyst for their change, but not to be the one that changes them. Like they want to change, but they don't want to be changed.
It's a great distinction.
Yeah.
Very true.
It's so true. And also, I think that within that freedom of choosing how you are going about things, that's the beauty of it. Because it would be hypocritical to assume that everyone, just because we say something, would immediately comply to that, because we would be the same way then. How many times did we get good advice? We didn't follow up on it. And then later on, you're like, oh, if I just had listened.
Yeah.
If I just had, but we were the same. Like, so who am I to judge or to think like, oh, well, you're not doing that? It's okay, because I believe that we are all in some capacity incongruent as humans, and that the moment that we have 100% congruency, we become light, because light is completely light. It's a completely 100% congruent thing, and that we go through life getting closer to that 100% congruence, but we cannot ever get there, because otherwise we wouldn't exist. So I am completely okay with it. If somebody says I'm vegetarian, then the next year they start to eat meat. I'm like, here we go, showing me again that belief system of how we can change as humans. And there is nothing in me that goes, well, that's a good thing, that's a bad thing. I told you not to eat meat, or I told you to be vegetarian. Because my belief also changes. In a year, I can be like, well, now I believe that this one option is better or the other. Like, if we are constantly shifting and sorting in beliefs all the time, following up, not following up, then who am I to even consider somebody else doing the thing or not? But we have to give them choice. We have to give them the option. And we do that by saying, this is possible. Now it's up to you to join along or not. It's okay. Whatever it is, let's go and be okay with whatever.
What used to be hard for me, and now I see it differently, is that what you said, people want to change, but they don't want to be changed. So sometimes you're just planting a seed in somebody. If you don't have the desired result from your conversation or the desired result from that session, maybe they're not ready yet. And they need to go through some more experience before they're ready. And sometimes that seed that you planted will grow later in their life, but trusting that process. So sometimes I'm sure this happens to all of us. I've seen another hypnotherapist. It didn't work. I don't know if I believe in hypnotherapy. I don't want to try it again. I don't know what to do. And I used to think every other hypnotherapist sucked, that nobody knows what they're doing but me, Then I realized maybe that person just wasn't ready. And now my attitude is, when they come to me, if they've seen other hypnotherapists, maybe the work they did was just to prepare them for the work they're going to do with me. Maybe what they had to go through was getting them ready the way they are now, versus they work with people that didn't know what they're doing, or any kind of negative thought about their experience up to now. And even though I can't imagine this, maybe some of my work would get me here for something else like that.
No, of course, Glenn is perfect.
Exactly. You get like that because obviously you want the desired result when you work with someone.
I actually installed this not too long ago, like I think a couple months ago. I installed it in self-hypnosis, where I get my unconscious to give me a signal once we go from healing to healed. So at the end of the session, my finger would move. And I don't get it every session, but more often than not, I do. So because our unconscious is faster than our conscious. So yeah, I do believe that some people are not ready, or we haven't found the right way. I do believe in the premise of NLP, which is that the response of the meaning of communication lies in the response you get, which means I'm 100% responsible for my client's result. If I didn't manage to get them from A to B, that's 100% my fault. Even if it's not, it's just my belief, because that will motivate me to change my strategy, go from this to that the next time. Maybe for some people, provocative coaching works better. For another one, the soft approach works better. Like maybe this works better here, maybe that works better there. But it's about becoming flexible. And I believe that if I continuously work on my repertoire of enhancing my skill set, then more often than not, I will get wins after wins after wins, and I can, weed out the fails or the lessons and make them more into wins. And because I've been doing this for 10 years, I do see patterns, and I can get closer and closer to that epiphany moment for people. However, I do not believe that I am the one that can make someone learn their spiritual lessons. I can make them see things like, what you did with the coin, where, they get to that realization. But to get to that realization still doesn't mean that they're ready to face the thing, because that may be a much deeper thing. Maybe it's karma related, if we believe in that, or something else. And so I believe that indeed, like, we can, like, plant the seed, make them go from A to B, and whatever else happens, I think that's the beauty of life, to kind of surrender to whatever then they do after it, and trust that the good thing comes out of it. And even if it doesn't, then maybe the next time, until we keep on improving, keep on being better.
What I teach my students when I do hypnotherapy to focus on is, I say, don't try to be the all-powerful hypnotist. That what I want you to focus on is one thing: give somebody a beautiful experience.
Oh, yeah.
That is the most important. There is something most people don't feel heard in their lives. They don't feel heard in their relationship. They don't feel heard in their job. So just by sitting with someone and holding space for them and letting them really be heard and seen, that alone is priceless.
Oh, yeah.
That alone is healing. And then on top of that, we add hypnotherapy and some conscious and unconscious change work.
I mean, the chance is big. But but my point is, like, even if somebody were to fix their allergy, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have solved the underlying current thing in their life that would even have them have that allergy in the first place. Like, maybe that solution generalized, so much so that the emotional tie is forever unlocked, detached. But maybe it didn't. And so I think there is a beauty to it, where we can just say, okay, well, whatever happens, I'm here for you. It's just that I'm not tied necessarily to your results, as I'm tied to my part of the deal, which is I bring in the intention, I bring in the presence, I bring in the technique, I bring in the belief, because I believe that beliefs are constantly in battle with each other, and that whoever has a stronger belief in a context wins. So if my belief in your change is bigger than your belief in your limitations, mine will win. Because I think the power of intention overrides all other powers, right? So if I can do my part and believe, I can see that person that is overweight, that wants to lose weight, I can see them slim and fit in the gym. I can see that happen for them. I believe with all my might that they will heal their relationships or do this or do that. And I just send it out there and then help them in my capacity, and then let life do its work. Because I'm not above life. If we believe in God, like, God is the one that, orchestrates it all. Maybe we are, like, put in the places for that. I don't know how it works.
Sure, and as the healer, that is your job.
It is.
Hold that intention.
Yeah.
And to see what's possible for them, because they grow into it. And it's amazing when you see that change take place in someone.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing. And the connection, that we have with people and our clients, when it's there, it's amazing. Like, in a session, there are times where I can feel that, even when it's on Zoom, I can feel that emotion, and I can feel that they released it, and I know they got it. And other times I may not necessarily be sure.
Yeah.
And then sometimes time takes care of that with the client on their own, or the change was profound. But there are those times where you can literally feel what your client's feeling. And that's very interesting. And also, at first, you kind of have to learn how to not internalize all that energy.
Oh, yeah. The hypnotherapist also needs a hypnotherapist.
That when they share their stories with you, it's also not our job to feel sorry for them, because that doesn't spark anybody. But sometimes as a human being, you can't not feel sorry for their journey. It's like, wow. In your mind, you're like, that's intense. What you've been through isn't fair and it's just not right. But you don't approach them with that. But it took a while to learn not to internalize
Yeah.
other people's story when you realize I'm not here to judge it. I'm here to change it and give you what you want. And that doesn't mean I have to take it in.
Yeah.
If for empaths, that's really challenging. As I think that I've worked with a lot of other hypnotherapists that have come to me for help. And I think that's the one thing an empathic hypnotherapist has a challenge with, bounding themselves and taking on energy. You can recognize it. You can help somebody move through it. You can hold space with them, but you don't have to internalize it. An empath doesn't necessarily know how to do that yet, but that's an important part of the training for an empath, So,
So what's your advice on that? How does somebody stay balanced when having challenging sessions as a hypnotherapist?
It comes with two things. I think the first part is a conscious understanding about what your job is. That you can hold space with someone without holding their space inside of you. That your job as an empath, you feel like your job is to understand is to feel what the other client's feeling, right? You don't have to feel what the other person's feeling to understand it. Something can be understandable. When you say, like I do my best to never say, let's say somebody's been through something I haven't been through. Oh, I understand. But like, how do you understand? How? But I can say what you explained to me is really understandable. I haven't experienced it myself, but that is understandable. And I think here's how we can fix that or change that, So realizing that on a conscious level, you don't have to understand at the emotional level to have something be understandable. That's the first step. And then the second step is quite literally doing some of your own angering where sometimes you'll do shield around you, like, okay, nothing gets in the shield that unless I allow it. And you ground yourself, or you do some kind of practice for yourself after a session. Like when you do Reiki, when you learn Reiki, you have to, when you're done, see a cleansing light come through you to release the energy that you just took on with someone else. And it's a similar practice. So I think it's more about, really, it's grounding. Teaching somebody how to ground themselves, to not hold on to what they've released in their client.
So to let go of what they've released.
Yeah, or to not hold on to it. You never pick it up in the first place.
Yeah, Just let it be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can acknowledge it, you're going to talk about it, but you're going to leave it right where it is. And to heal someone else doesn't mean you have to internalize their pain.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest reframe or the biggest lesson empath needs to know.
And also, when you did, for example, with the coin thing, with the coin exercise, you asked me about the dilemma. You didn't go into specifics, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's very important for people to realize, is that a way not to internalize it is also by understanding you don't actually need to know the problem. You just need to know that there is a problem, because this person will sort it out and you're like the guiding force. And the only reason you would get content out of somebody, you would make them talk about something, is so that they can associate more with that part of themselves, and not so that you understand it, quote unquote. Because you know how Richard Bandler says, I understand the problem the moment it's fixed. So that means that he never understands, because once it's fixed, it's like not a problem anymore, because then it's a solution. It's a nice wordplay. So that means that, like, when we talk, hypnotherapy does a lot with elicitation, also meta model, going into what specifically are you going through. But the intention of us asking things is never for us to understand it. It's for that person to activate those parts within them. And then we do an intervention that plays around with those parts or collapses the parts or puts something else in their place or extends them or expands them in whatever form. And so if we understand that, then it's even easier not to internalize, I think, because there was never something to internalize to begin from, because I can only internalize things if I start to make an interpretation out of that thing that somebody says and then internalize it based on my own experience. But if I don't do that, then obviously it won't happen. And then also, next to what you said, I think there is a third element to it, which is you can create filters within your unconscious. You can say, I don't know if viewers know about the unconscious mind, the way that, in hypnosis is very prevalent, but you can talk to your unconscious. You can make it like move your finger or do something unconsciously, like the way you're breathing or your blood regulation. It's usually unconscious, right? So what you would do is like you would get that unconscious signal for yes, and then you would ask your unconscious for that specific demand you have. Like, for example, please clean out my energy or something. And once you are done with that, give me a yes signal. And then your unconscious sifts and sorts through it. You don't have to think about, the shield or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, you let time pass, you wait for the yes, and then you're relieved, and then you can go on with your day.
That's amazing stuff. Until next,
Yeah. See you next time. Thank you so much for watching.
all things hypnosis.